Hello guys, and welcome to Battlefield 6, a game that has so many settings you might as well have climbed into the cockpit of an F-22 Raptor fighter jet, because my god, this game has so many settings and so much stuff to play around with. But luckily, I've done all the work for you, right? I've went through every single setting in this game, and I've actually gained what I would say is a pretty meticulous understanding of every single thing you can change in this game. So that's exactly what I'm going to be doing today. I'm going to be showing you guys all the settings I run and what I believe to be the perfect settings in Battlefield 6. I've put way too much effort into this, so please, if you like this video and you want to see more like informative content like this, stuff that's genuinely going to help anyone, I guarantee actually, no matter who you are, you will learn something from this video. It doesn't matter if you're an experienced player or a newbie, you will learn something. So if you'll enjoy this kind of stuff, please leave the video with a like. Please go ahead and comment on the video for the algorithm and subscribe to the channel. With all that said, let's get into this. Alright, so getting started in accessibility. Firstly, turn all this stuff off. You don't need any of that. Turn the volume to what you want it to be. And the first piece of real ball knowledge here is the tinnitus SFX settings. What you want to do is copy these settings, and what that's going to do is it's going to get rid of a lot of the high frequency, high pitch, flashbang, concussion kind of sound effects that can muddle up the audio a little bit. This is a bit more audio clarity by doing this. Now for color settings, I will put the numbers for each color next to it on screen. If you like the color settings in some of my older videos, all I did was change the enemies to yellow and left the rest default, but I've actually went through and done a pass on these, and I've set them to be as optimal as possible. These ones from accent down are all default, but these ones I've all changed. So I'll put the numbers next to them, you can copy them if you want. Brightness is a preference setting to a point. Do not go to 100. It's going to wash the game out. Look at this. Everything is very, very washed out. Maybe you like the game looking like this. I don't think it's very productive. 40 to 60 on brightness. I use 55. It's going to matter what you run on your monitor as well. So I think a better way to handle brightness if you want more of it is to turn it up on the monitor. Camera effects. Turn this all off and reduce sprint camera bobbing. If you watch me when I'm running around, my camera's pretty steady, right? It's not moving that much. Hold toggle. A lot of this is preference. I'll stop on the ones that aren't. Vehicle boost. Set it to hold. You want to be able to tap your afterburner on and off. I think this isn't really preference. I think this is objectively better to turn this off, but a lot of good players also use this. Vehicle weapon zoom is technically preference, but I think it is better on toggle. You can just zoom in, you're done with that now, and you can focus on aiming. And a lot of times in vehicles, you're going to be posted up doing a bit of aiming at once. Steady scope, this actually is synergistic with a lot of the other settings I use, so I bind this on toggle, and then I also put it on my right mouse button. And I also put my rangefinder on my right mouse button. So when I zoom in, I steady my scope, range the shot, and I'm also zoomed in. So it's all in one on the right mouse button. All the rest is preference, so use what you want. And I don't use a controller. This is just all off. No tutorials, no hints. Alright, so getting into gameplay settings. First, we've got vertical look. I actually have vertical look set to off in the settings, and then I manually make vertical inversion on for the jet. So I'll show you how to do that later, but I just find it easier to do it in the keybinds and mess around with it here. This was a bit broken when the game came out. Hold toggle, we showed that before, but I'll give you guys a quick look at it. Turn this on, I think it's slightly useful. This is for controller, so I just max it out in case there's any weird input jank. My sensitivity is 6.9 at 1600 DPI. You can use a table here and see that's 40 centimeters per 360. I would recommend for this game running anything between 25 and 55. I think that's the optimal set of sensitivities, and I think most players are going to end up in the middle there somewhere. So again, put your DPI to one of these numbers here, and then just use this number, the centimeter 360, and I would say almost ensure that you're in that range. I think it's objectively kind of the best to be within that range somewhere. Now the rest of this is quite a lot of preference stuff here. I would recommend copying it though. I have went through and tried all these, and I think these are the best ways to run all this stuff, but again, up to you. This is a non-preference setting in my opinion, so when you jump out of a building, you do not want to roll because your gun's going to be down. You want to have your gun up. Even if you take a little bit of damage, keep your gun up, man. It's going to be worth it. Mount type, I have it for side and up, and peak type up only. I don't like the corner peeking in this game very much. I don't think it really helps, so got it set like this, but honestly, I think up is probably going to be better there as well, so I'm going to change that. Now for vehicle sensitivity, again, 1600 DPI. This is for the controller, so I just maxed it out just in case, because Battlefield 4 actually had a little bit of jank with this, where you'd get slightly more responsiveness by maxing it out on the controller. So I'm just taking precautions here. It's 100% for me, but I don't play the controller. I play mouse and keyboard, and that is 10% sense, and these two both increase the responsiveness of the aircraft. So you want to max these out and then do your sensitivity adjustment within this one here. All these assists are off, but I do decouple tank turret aiming from turning. I don't know if this works yet. It didn't work in the beta, but what it's meant to do is allow your turret to stay dead on the target while your tank rotates under you. So that is an essential setting for tankers. Everyone loves using this. And again, vehicle boost on hold, very important. This is all aim assist. I don't play controller, so you're gonna have to watch someone else. I'd recommend Maxic or Tactical Brit. They're both really good controller players. For mouse and keyboard aim sensitivities, again, covered that 6.9. In the control settings, uniform soldier aiming is on, or uniform infantry aiming as it's called in this game, and it is set to 0%, which is called 0% monitor match or focal length scaling. You can use 133 or 178 as well. These values are used by top players all over the world. So 178, 133, and 0. Try those three values, let me know what you like the most. Just don't get placeboed because the 1x scope is actually a 1x in this game, so it doesn't do anything on the 1x scopes. Now this just leave this all to 100. Uniform infantry aiming handles it all. You do not need to worry about it. Field of view is 115, but I've been happy on 103, 110, and 115, so currently I'm using 115. I would use anything in that range, 103 to probably 116 actually, because that was my old BF5 FOV, so any of those numbers are good. You could even go maxed if you wanted to, but currently 115, it's got room to change. You want to copy this down, especially you want to have a bind for slide in my opinion, so that you're not spamming the double tap on crouch and sometimes crouching accidentally. I think it's much easier to slide with a separate button, so I have that on C, and that means I remove crouch toggle from C. Now again, for steady scope, it's on toggle and it's on the right mouse button. That just ensures that my scope's always steady. I don't really hard scope for too long. In this game, it's a general sniping tip to do most of your looking around and aiming in the first person, the no zoom, and then zoom in when you see a target, because of that scope glint, right? And we're going to go through all these. These are all just, they've been seen before, I believe, but copy them if you want them. Now for infantry passenger keybinds, it's mostly default. Mostly default. I actually have this big map bound to a side mouse button. You just don't see it because I've used my mouse software to bind the side mouse button to M, because it actually doesn't work if it's bound to the side mouse button. It lets you get into the map, it doesn't let you get out. So the workaround I found is to use the software to bind that side mouse button to M. This is all be default. All be default. Jump is bound to scroll down in case I want to do a bunny hop. You can do one bunny hop in this game, and it's especially useful if you do it after jumping, sliding, and jumping. So there you go. I believe all I change after this is I put my med bag on a side mouse button as well as X, so I can quickly pull out the med bag. Other than that, I think the default settings are pretty good there. Steady scope and zeroing as well, actually, on the right mouse button. There you go. Now for the control settings in vehicles, I use inverted flight not on here, but I do it in the key bindings, as I'll show later. Set all this stuff off, and I actually turn off third-person aircraft camera roll. What that's going to do is it's going to keep your camera righted at center. It doesn't roll with it jet. And I think this is a lot better for awareness and general just viewing. I don't really aim much in third person in this game. Almost no one does. So in my opinion, this is just a better setting to have on. This used to be advantageous on if you were aiming in third person, but you just don't do that anymore in BF6 with the pip crosshair. So off. It should be default in my opinion. Uniform vehicle aiming is on, and I have it at 0%. I don't know if this works the exact same way as the infantry uniform vehicle aiming works, but my zoom feels really good in the attack helicopter, so I'm just kind of trusting this at this point. I've changed this to 100 so that looking side to side and up and down is all scaled exactly the same. This is a preference setting. You can run it on default, which is I think 48, but for me, 100 is the best. Coefficient 0, just feels good for me. Max FOV. Leave these at 100 and do everything scaling wise with uniform vehicle aiming in my opinion. Boost on hold of course, toggle on zoom, and that's all default. Now for the ground vehicle keybinds, I'm just going to scroll through these, but you'll see a common theme here which I'll explain this one time and this one time only. Chase camera on mouse 5. Big map is actually on mouse 4, but again I did that mouse trick because it wasn't working correctly. Fire is removed from space, because I don't like to fire with spacebar. That's a general theme. Getting through these ones nice and quick, so we can get to what you guys want to see, which is the aircraft pilot mappings, right? I've actually done a lot of change here, and this is a set of settings that I've refined over probably 8 or 9 years now. Exit vehicle on P. I don't like bailing my jets accidentally. I pretty much never bail a jet, so I put this on P for parachute, and I do not want to hit it. I do not want to hit it, so it's far away from my hand. I actually bind the reload here in case I want to reload a weapon. In the jet, you don't have to reload anything, but maybe they'll add hydropods later, and you will need it. Again, this is on the side mouse button, technically. Third person on the side mouse button as well, so I can get in and out of the cockpit easily. All default down to here. I then bind pitch up to spacebar and moving my mouse down, so that's the inverted flight, and pitch down to control and moving my mouse up. So again, inverted flight in the jet. Not in the heli though, I'll show you guys that soon. This should all be default. You don't change any of this. Free look on left alt, it's a bind that I got from Arma 3 and I really, really like it. The only time it pisses me off is when I am free looking and then I hit tab to see the scoreboard, alt tab from the game and crash into a mountain. That happens. But other than that, this is a really, really good bind in my opinion. Remove spacebar from fire. That's essential if you want to use it for pitch up, so you don't want to fire when you're pulling up. And I've swapped these around a little bit. So switch weapon on F, primary weapon on 1, secondary on 2. These are the flares actually. It should say flares, or use countermeasures is on X. And the bombs are on 3. So this is all really, really easy for me to swap around with my weapons. Now for the heli keybinds, I use something called rifle aim, and that's pretty much swapping around the yaw and the roll binds so that you pretty much do all your aiming on the mouse. And it's called rifle aim because when you get good at it, it feels like you're aiming a rifle. It's that easy. So I'll show you guys that right now. Again, exit on E this time because I'm jumping out of my heli a lot more and I'm okay if I fat finger it in the heli, I guess. Reload is bound to R so I can reload my pods. This is again mouse 4, but you can't see it. Chase camera on mouse 5. Now this is where it gets interesting. So if you want to set up rifle aim, what you do is you unbind everything here. Unbind all of the rolls and all of the yaws. And you do that by clicking on the button and then holding down escape. Now this is all unbound, you want to click on the yaw right on the mouse and move the mouse to the right. It will come up with this duplicate, that's fine. And then on the roll, you want to go on the keyboard, this time in the keyboard column, and bind this to D, doesn't matter, and bind this to A, again, doesn't matter. Now you have rifle aim. Now to go rifle aim supreme, rifle aim deluxe, you actually don't want to use inverted either, because do you use inverted when you play infantry? Hell nah. So we're going to do the exact same thing on the pitch up and down. So pitch down is mouse down, pitch up is mouse up, and again, pitch up on space, pitch down on control, just like my jet. That's easy, it's all done. Now a lot of really good pilots in this game who play rifle aim will actually also bind a yaw key or both yaw keys on the keyboard as well, so they can yaw as hard as possible. I don't do that personally, but it is an option and it's something worth considering. I know something that X8 Reaps does, who's a very, very good heli pilot. I believe he uses control and space on your right and your left, so you could use it on those instead of these. That is up to you. The rest of this should be pretty much default, except free look on left alt. And again, I've done the same thing with my weapons in the helicopter, so copy that if you want it. Moving right along, we got the gunner keybinds. This is more of the same as the transport vehicle and ground vehicle keybinds. You can just have a quick look at it if you want, but it is pretty much all the same. Now for UI keybinds, the only thing I've done here is I've removed party chat from P so that I don't open up the chat every time I bail a jet. So that's the one change I've done there. And raw input should always be on. Now for the graphics settings, this has consumed a lot of my life recently. Too much that I don't really want to admit it, but we're going to get right into it. So of course double custom here, we're going to be changing everything. Hop into the quality settings. Texture quality on Ultra is where I found the sweet spot to be. If you have a 5090, you could go Overkill, but I think Ultra is just fine. I might actually try Overkill for a week at some point, but I've tried both and I can't really tell the difference. I just get a little bit more frames on Ultra, and I put the texture filtering to Overkill, which is 16 times filtering. So that looks really, really good, and it costs absolutely nothing. It's free. The rest of this, all low. All low. The game still looks really, really good. You don't need any of this on anything other than low, in my opinion. Frames win games. Just remember that. So for world brightness, I have this on 55, and I match the UI brightness. Again, brightness we covered at the start. Don't set it too high. Don't set it too low. That 50 zone is pretty good for most people. Sharpness is actually not doing anything because I'm running anti-aliasing off, but if you're running it on, you can play with the sharpness. On TAA, I like it on 80 to 100, so really, really high, right? On DLAA, I like it more around the 50 to 60. But because I'm not actually running any anti-aliasing at the moment, as you'll see right here, it doesn't really matter. But we'll get into that. So copy all this. This is all from Freethy's video. Just copy it. Freethy knows everything. If you want the best explanation, you're going to have to take about 2 hours of your day to learn about it. But he has a video covering absolutely everything. So I watched that video and just copy these settings. Trust. Anti-aliasing. This is a setting that is actually very, very largely up to preference. I think off is probably the most competitive setting, but turning it to TAA, if you struggle with visibility, sometimes can be good. Just make sure you turn the sharpening up to counteract some of that blur. And then DLAA, if you had a graphics card that's absolute god tier, looks the best. Like, this looks amazing in my opinion. This looks so crisp and clear, but your FPS will take a hit. So I might play around with this a little bit more, but I do feel the latency. I'm very sensitive to latency, so I do definitely feel that when I run it. Now these two, in my opinion, don't touch them. I think your options are off, DLLA, or TAA. Upscaling, I don't use it because it introduces some blur. You don't want blur. Even if your frames are higher, if you're getting blur, it's all useless. So it's all about latency and blur for me. I don't use frame generation. It's just a little bit more latency, but honestly, 2x is not that bad. Future frame rendering does nothing in this game, at least from Freethy's testing. That's what I seem to gather. And then the performance overlay is simple. I have a config file, which I have in my Discord in the Battlefield 6 settings channel. Image on screen right now. And you guys will see my config files there. You can copy that if you want, and it will put the FPS counter up in the top left like this. Again, we covered all the field of view stuff, so a lot of duplicate settings. This should be on wide. All the blur down as low as possible. We covered this already. All these filters off. Should be full screen or borderless if you're on Windows 11. I'm on Windows 11, but with the way I have my capture card set up, I have to have this on full screen. So that is a rip me situation on alt tabs. I think running native is the best in this game, but a lot of really good players are running 4:3 stretched and 16:10 stretched, so you can try that if you want. Again, aspect ratio for me, I'm not running stretched at all. VSync off. Show HUD on. Turn off these. Definitely turn off these. Soldier overlays are on. I turn off the outlines on friendly targeted soldiers. That's just visual bloat in my opinion. Soldier visibility filter, definitely want that on. Alright, let's get into the real meat and potatoes here, the HUD settings. So the first one here, horizontal HUD padding. I like this at 100%. It's going to bring all the HUD elements in towards the center of the screen. Most of the time you're looking around here, so bring the minimap a bit closer to where you're looking. Doesn't hurt in my opinion. Show kills made by all. It gives you free information, right? You might see that someone good has spawned up in a jet. You want to know that. Kill feed icons. I like this off because if you set this off, when you actually kill someone, look at the top right. It says SGX rather than the little icon. SGX right there. So that is worth having in my opinion. It's just a little bit easier to read, right? Ping notifications, I have that off. Minimap should be as large as possible always. It's not even that big in this game on large. It could be way bigger in my opinion. I have the opacity down as low as I can tolerate. So it is centered more. So I want to have it a little bit less visible. Cone opacity comes down with that. I don't think the cone is that useful. I could almost turn it off. But I like having it just a little bit of visibility on that one. View rotation is preference, but I like it on. Interior zoom, in my opinion, want off because just because you're inside a building and you're playing a building doesn't mean you don't want the information of all those targets further away. I would turn this down further if I could, but it is as low as possible on 160. And then on air vehicles and ground vehicles, you want the biggest minimap possible. Big map opacity, I still want to see a little bit, but I don't need to see it completely, so I have it on 50. This is all for the Battle Royale. Simplified squad list is on. I had it on before. What it will do is it makes your squad list look very, very simplistic. I just don't think I'm really gaining much out of that. I'm not having enemies disguised behind my squad list, and having it there doesn't distract me. So I think it's just needless to turn it off. I was running it and I thought it was nice, but I've changed my mind there. Compass is off. I never look at the compass. I think it's just visual bloat. My vehicle HUDs are all white. I just think it looks very, very clean. I don't want my vehicle HUD to be too obtrusive. I think white is just a really, really clean, nice color that doesn't get in the way, but it shows you everything you need to see. I've always liked white and black in terms of vehicle HUDs, and black is broken in this game, so I'm using white. This is all just the prompts. You can turn this all off. Easy enough. Now, getting into, in my opinion, the most important settings menu in Battlefield 6, we have edit HUD icons. This stuff is all perfectly set by default. I wouldn't touch any of this. This is just really, really well done, so leave that alone. This is how the icons fade in and out of view as you go from peripheral view to central view, so I wouldn't change this. This is all really, really well done. Where we do want to start making changes is on the next little tab here. So objective icons, everyone knows where the objectives are after they play the game for a few hours. So once you know where they are, go ahead and make them as small as possible and reduce the opacity. I'm at 50%, but I could go even lower. The thing is, it just doesn't seem to benefit me that much. 50% is a nice sweet spot here, and get rid of them when you zoom in. You do not want to be seeing anything other than the enemy when you zoom in. The friendly icons, I have these a little bit smaller. They are full opacity, so I don't want to TK my friendlies or shoot them unnecessarily and target switch them. So I have this on 100%. But when I zoom in, I make it a little bit less visible, just to make sure that the enemy is the foremost thing I'm seeing. And then revive icons, they are as small as possible. They are less visible, and they are off when I zoom in. I can still see them just fine. I just don't need that clutter. So again, this is all about decluttering the game. Squad icons, right? I have them again a little bit smaller. They are fully visible. When I zoom in, they are a little bit less visible. And the revive icons, again, the exact same thing. They're clutter. I know where they are. I don't need them to be all up in my face. Enemy icons. This is, in my opinion, good information. I make these a little bit larger at 130. I think the default is 100. So I make it 30% bigger. I think 150 is a little bit too big. And I think 100 is a little bit small even. Like, you can afford to go higher on this one. And that is good information. I want that on my screen. They're always as visible as possible. Neutral icons, again, a little bit smaller, a little bit less visible, and I get rid of them when I zoom in. And then for ping markers, I think these are good information. If someone's pinged something, there's probably an enemy there. So I'm going to keep these at 100. Now for crosshairs and indicators. I have this at full opacity, full intensity. Again, we showed you guys what that intensity does. It's basically the outline and the shadowing of the crosshair. You want the crosshair to pop, so it's full intensity. Crosshair colors, right? The best way to figure out what a good crosshair color is look at what the CS pros are doing, for example. They got to see that shit for a living. So those guys are running green, yellow, white, cyan. Those are the colors that you see really top CS players use, and I think that's a good way to gauge it at a very, very base level. You can also use purple. That's a good color. Pink. This is also really quite nice. So for me, it's white. I think because it has an outline on it, white really pops very well, and it just looks clean. So I'm going with white, but I like yellow as well. Thickness, thick. Crosshair projection, set this to off, so it keeps the crosshair at screen center. Now for hit indicators, again, I think this is a good form of feedback, so I'm going to turn it up as far as it goes and make sure the intensity, which is that outline as we covered, is as high as it goes. For the hit color, I got white. For the headshots, I got purple. And then for kills, I got this dark red color. I'm not going to drag this around because I really like this color, but more or less if you drag it up to the top right on red, or just up here on the red, and then keep dragging this down to about this point here, I think that's where I got this red from, but play around with it, it's all preference. For armor soft hit, I've got green, and for the hard hit, I've got yellow. I think this is a really, really good set of hit marker colors that stands out no matter what. Okay, now for the hit indicator numbers. I've actually changed these up a lot from default, and I went to a setting that I'm kind of calling Apex Legends style. So I got them on, I got the opacity to 50%, which is very, very visible for the hit ones, the white hit markers, but as soon as it goes to red, it's a lot more kind of disguised, which is good. I don't need to see the number if the enemy's dead. He's dead, it doesn't matter. I have the size bumped up to medium. That works well with the lower opacity. And I have it moved to 75/30, which moves it up to the top right. So by default, it's on the straight left. The reason I've done this is because I'm right eye dominant. So I actually want to be able to see the number a bit easier. This goes to the theory of like Counter-Strike players running their view models on the left. If they're right eye dominant, they're less likely to notice the view model on the left, and it makes the game look a lot more clear for some people. Not everyone does this, but like, it's a niche tip that I remember from 5 or 6 years ago that every now and then you can apply stuff like that. And at least for me, like, if you look at these numbers, I notice them a lot easier on the right side. And that top right just looks good for me. I'm trying to kill these targets a little bit slower so you can see the numbers increase. And now finally for the damage indicator colors, I have this one to yellow for the infantry damage. Just because I have my enemies yellow, it all matches up. And I would change this one to yellow as well. But I can! Oh my god! I haven't been able to do this. It wasn't letting me scroll down. Okay, this one is now yellow. Change to the settings. Yeah, so damage is yellow. Yellow is my danger color, so... Alright, now for my chat settings. I have it when active, and I've just made the opacity a little bit lower. The rest of this is pretty much default. This isn't actually as high as it looks. When you get it in game, it's more around this height where my mouse is. So it's not too high. It's fine. Don't worry about it. And chat scale 100. 100. All right, now for audio, this is a really, really important settings menu here. I have the master volume to what I like listening to. Keep the sound effects at 100%. Turn off these two. They're just clutter. And then soldier volume, just in case this is callouts, like I need a medic or whatever. You want to have this on 100. I think I do hear those callouts quite a lot, and I don't want to mess with it. And my audio is not cluttered, so I'm leaving that how it is. UI SFX, this is just in the menus, doesn't matter. Hit mark is good feedback, I keep it on. Now for the sound system, I have it on headphones high dynamics. This is, in my opinion, the best sound settings you can have in the game. I mean, just listen to this. I can hear exactly where most of these enemies are. Now, if I go to what a lot of people are recommending, which is stereo, you're going to notice that it's a lot more polar. It's left or right. It doesn't give you as deep of a sound stage. So this, in my opinion, is the best setting. If you are using, I believe, Dolby Atmos or Windows Sonic, you can run 3D headphones. I'm not. And if you have a 7.1 system, you can run this. But you'll notice that if you run one of these settings and it's not supported, it's going to throw you on stereo, and you do not want that. So again, for most people, you're going to be on headphones, and the best mix, in my opinion, is high dynamics. Now for the voice chat, this doesn't matter. I have it on push to talk, so I can talk to my teammates like JP and the Jet. Shout out JP. And this is all covered already, right? The music radios, I do keep them on. I'm just a bit of a silly guy, I guess. If they add radios to the game, I will find it funny. If you're the most giga turbo sweat ever, turn them off. Now for system, you can copy this all if you want. These modes are really, really useful in my opinion as a streamer. Really, really useful. I've already covered my minimap settings, but I'll show you guys again. And you need this for stats websites. Scoreboard ping is really good. It actually shows the ping on the scoreboard. I'll show you guys this, but for the sake of completeness, right? I haven't actually changed any of this stuff. And extras, there's nothing there. That's my settings. Now, I do have a config file as well. I have a Battlefield settings channel in my Discord. What you do with that config file is you download it and you throw it straight in your game directory. I'm not going to cover that in this video. That's out of scope here. You can go watch a Freaky video on that or my old settings guide, which covers exactly how to use it. But we're going to call it there. I hope you guys all enjoyed this settings video. This is taken me a lot of work to come up with these settings, but I'm actually really happy with them. And I'm glad I went through this process because I really care about understanding this kind of stuff. So now that I do, I'm quite happy, and I hope you guys are too, because this should help everyone. Anyways, that's it. Again, please leave a comment for the algorithm. Please leave a like for the algorithm. Please leave a sub for my sanity, and I will see you all in the next one. Peace.